So many entrepreneurs are obsessed with subscription-based business models. And what I found is that in most cases, not all, but most cases, subscriptions are actually killing your cash flow and your profit and your ability to scale. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through why that is. I know it's a very counterintuitive thing. People will disagree with me on this. I will stand on this hill and die on this hill because I am a math guy. I actually see the math behind the scenes. And in most cases, it does not make sense. So I'm going to walk you through why I think that. You'll see if you agree or not, right? Before we jump in, just in case you don't know me, just so you know that I actually, do this and, and know what I'm talking about. My name is Jeremy Reeves. I'm the owner of ScaleAdvisors.com. I've done about $200 million generated for myself and clients. Built my own multi-million-dollar business, sold it. I help clients do this now. I have a #1 best-selling book, The Scalable Profit Model, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just get into it, right? From what I've seen, there are three main reasons that people want cash flow. And I think it's really important to start here because we always want to find out the motivation. What's the reason why someone's making a choice or has an opinion on something? And so the main three that I found that they want it is for stability. All right. They like that stability. All right. And I like stability too. What I've found though is that the three kind of main issues with that is bad cash flow management, right? So a lot of people want stability because they aren't good at managing the cash that they have. All right, and this, like, you'll see this. I mean, I've literally worked with several clients that they had a higher ticket program of some sort or bundle or whatever, a higher ticket product or whatever they were doing, and they wanted to do payment plans on that because of the stability in the cash flow. And I'm like, wait, so you're purposely giving up all that cash up front for the chance to maybe get it over a longer period of time just because you like the stability? And their answer would be, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, but why don't we just fix the actual problem of that, which is bad cash flow management? Because, like, wouldn't you rather just get all that money here now up front and then know how to use that cash properly, right? Like, isn't that a much better idea? And then, like, once I walk through, they're like, oh yeah, actually that does make a lot of sense, And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it does. That's what I'm here for. So that's one of the really big things is, like, if you want subscriptions, feel into why, right? Ask yourself why. Why do I want subscriptions? What is it that I want it for? Is it because you're going to get a higher multiple on subscriptions? Because in that case, and you want to exit your company, okay, that might make sense. If you're software, right? That makes sense because that's how pretty much all software is sold, is on a subscription, right? It depends on what it is. But if you have something like a consumable, like a supplement or a collagen product or like some sort of consumable like that, and you're trying to get people on subscriptions, in most cases the math just does not make sense. I'm going to walk you through the math to show you. The second reason that people tend to like subscriptions is inconsistent revenue. And this one I get. Traffic platforms, Facebook and Google and all the things are sometimes unstable. All right. So if you don't feel like the revenue is stable, I can understand that. You're still trying to fix a root cause issue with a band-aid. All right. But I certainly understand that. And I get that. There's a lot of things you can do to make it more consistent. I'm not gonna cover that in this video, but there are a lot of things you can do to make it more consistent. But I do totally get this one because we've all had issues, right? If you've done any sort of paid media, I'm sure if you've done it and you're listening to this, you have absolutely had issues with a traffic channel going to hell on you all of a sudden, right? So I totally get it. There are things you can do around that. A lot of it is just based on fear and not actual things, actually happening, but that's a whole future thing. And then the third thing is seasonality, right? So let's just say that I don't know, you have a pool cleaning service, and rather than charging upfront, you're going to charge like a monthly fee that happens for the whole year or whatever, something like that, or like grass cutting or lawn care, something like that. That's going to make a little bit more sense, or like taxes, like anything financial, accountants, things like that. They get the big wave for tax season, and then they have to kind of figure out how to manage that cash flow throughout the rest of the year. Again, that comes back to a cash flow issue. Most of this comes back to bad cash flow management. So the first thing is just think through everything that I said. Think through your why. All right. Why do I want subscriptions? Why do I want recurring revenue? And see if it's based around a fear. All right. Or if you like, I mean, you'll know listening to this if this rings true for you or not. It may or may not. I don't know. But cash flow management is generally the biggest issue here. Is they're afraid that they're basically going to run out of cash, and if that's a fear, then you need better cash flow management skills. That's all, right? And then you can have a better profit model with the cash flow management skills, and then grow better. All right. So let me walk you through the math. All right. So let's just assume that you have, let's just, and I'm just going to pick random numbers, right? So like, let's just say that you have a consumable of some kind, you sell it for $50, and you have a 4-month stick rate. All right. So you know that you're going to get $200 for each customer, because on average they come in and they buy it 4 times, and we're just going to keep the math simple. Maybe you have different prices or a free trial, whatever, but we're just going to keep this simple. So 4 purchases at $50 each, on average, you get $200. All right. The first thing to understand is that when you look at that $200, that's profit, that's revenue, all that. It is not cash. Okay. So when you say we have a 4-month stick rate and we get $200 within 4 months from each customer, that calculation is wrong. All right. You do not collect $400 from each customer within 4 months. You collect $200 from each customer on average, but remember that you have people that when they come on, they're going to cancel day 1. You have a lot of people are going to cancel within the first 30 days. That's likely your biggest chunk. I mean, it depends on your positioning. It depends on the offer you're giving. It depends on a lot of various factors. But in general, you're going to have a bunch of people that cancel before those 4 months. Because of that, you need people going out to month 5 and month 6 and month 12 and 18, whatever, to make up for that the big chunk that leave in the beginning. You need that amount of people to go on the tail end, right? So you're never just looking at it. Whatever your stick rate is, that is different from your cash flow and what you pull in per customer in that time frame. All right. I would say on average, this is going to depend so much, mostly on the cancellations in the first 30 days. All right. If you have more cancellations up front in that first 30 days, so like a free trial example would be a good case with this. You're going to have a longer payback. It's going to take you more months on the tail end to make up that difference. I hope that makes sense. All right. So in 2 scenarios, if you have option 1, you sell, actually, let me do that next. The rule of thumb here is that if you have a 4-month stick rate, just to be conservative, you would have to run this for your business, but just a nice conservative number is you could expect that if you have a 4-month stick rate, it's going to take you roughly double that, like 50 to 100% longer to actually recover that cash. So if we just go double, just for simple words here, if you have a 4-month stick rate, it's going to take you on average for 8 months to actually collect that full $200. All right. Hopefully that makes sense, because it's a really, really, really big concept that people don't typically think through. And if you understand this, it's going to completely change the way that you think about cash flow from subscriptions. All right. So that's that. So just remember that what you generate per customer from your stick rate, you can't just say 4 times 50 equals 200. You have to look at it from a cash standpoint. When do you actually collect that cash? All right. That's number 1. So if we give that into an example, which one would you rather? Option 1 would be sell 4 4 on subscription at $50 each over 2 months. It takes you 8 months to collect it. That's the baseline that most people are doing right now in subscription. Don't you think it would be better to try to figure out how to sell all those four up front to collect that $200 in contribution margin on day one instead of 8 months? If you can do that, that shortens your capital return velocity by 8 months, right? You get all that money 8 months faster. So even if, let's just say that you got 200 from your subscription people and you got 150. If you had to just discount so much, you got 150 to sell those four up front. That means you're getting 150 up front versus 200 at 8 months. Which one would you rather? Most people would pick less money up front because now you can reinvest that cash to make up that extra 50 bucks, that difference. So your margin up front is lower, but because you're getting the cash back so much faster, you can then reinvest it, all right, and ascend that customer in different ways. So you're still making up that 50 bucks, but you're still getting it a lot faster. All right. And this is just like, I kind of call myself a profit engineer. That's like one of the terms, like whatever. I just look at things in terms of levers, right? And like, this is some of the stuff that I help model out for clients is like, what makes more sense for you? Because depending on your business, you might say, you know what, Jeremy, this is all bullshit. I think you're an idiot, right? It depends on your business model. It depends on your goals. The point of this is to look at it through this lens so you can make the best decision for you. I'm not telling you what you're doing is wrong, anything like that. I'm saying here's a different perspective, all right? So with all that said, and now that you understand kind of the math behind subscriptions, the next question is, so what does we'll just call it a smart subscription model, what does that look like, all right? And again, this is going to be vague. I don't know your specific business, so I don't want to hear people in the comments, whatever, that doesn't work for my business. I get it. Remember, this is a broad video going to all people, all right? In general, in 85 to 90% of the cases, the best, smarter way to do subscriptions is to sell as much as you can upfront in a way that makes sense. I'm going to do a quick little pause on that one real quick. Sometimes it doesn't make sense from a customer point of view. So for example, a lot of people in the supplement space will sell like a year ahead of time. I don't personally like I like 6 months. I think 6 months is great. I don't like doing this whole 12 bottle, 24 bottle, like just sell them as much as you possibly can. First, they don't need it. They don't need it like a full year in advance. And then you're starting to run into like, even if you have a 2-year shelf life on your product and you're selling them a year in advance, it's going to take them a year to go through it. Well, if you only had 6 months left on the life cycle, right? So like if it was a 2-year thing, but you're selling them products that only have 6 months left. Well, now they're going to be using 6 months of expired product, or even if it's a year, you're running the risk they're going to be using expired products. So you have to look at it from that standpoint and what the customer actually needs, right? In for whatever it is that you're selling. All right. So it's really important to think through just from a human to human perspective, right? Because we have to try to sometimes, a lot of people have to blend the humanness, I think, a little bit better into business. And it's not just about, like, I'm a numbers guy. It is all data and get the best numbers and all that. But you have to also have that from one view, like as one lens, but then put another lens over it as, okay, that makes sense. But just as a human, as me, as a contributing member of society, what actually makes sense? What is the moral thing that is right to do here? What is the ethical thing that is right to do here? So I'll always be thinking about that. But in general, you want to try to get more upfront where it makes sense. What you can do though is, like, let's just say that you're pushing your average person, you get it from 1 bottle up front to 3 bottles up front. Well, you've already tripled your average order value, assuming they're all the same price, but like roughly tripled your average order value, which is going to help you pay back your acquisition costs, your overhead costs, your inventory costs, all that stuff faster. Fantastic. But what do you do with those customers, right? Because now they got 3 bottles up front. Well, they bought 3 bottles up front, so why wouldn't they buy 3 bottles? And that's just a 3-month supply. So now you're just selling them another 3-month supply when they need it. So you can do a subscription every 3 months. So rather than 1 bottle a month, you're kind of capturing more of that profit that you can get By offering them a 3-month subscription. All right. And you know already if they bought 3 bottles, they're a 3 bottle buyer. So what would they buy more of? 3 bottles, right? It makes a lot of sense if you think about it like that. So don't bottle yourself and constrain yourself in just thinking of like one single subscription. Do it on a quarterly supply, a biannual supply, if it makes sense, an annual supply. Think about it in those terms because you can just capture so much more. All right. Another thing you could do here is if you have, if you have a subscription, you could get more upfront and then it's a smaller subscription. Or, I mean, there's so many different ways to kind of play around with this. The next thing is focus on the back end consumption and cross sells and upsells and like when when they're buying that product, whatever that subscription product is, always be thinking of how do we ascend, how do we give them more, better, faster, different results? How do we take them and take them from solving one problem into helping them become a better person in general? What I mean by that is rather than just solving their knee pain, all right, this goes, and I'm actually the next video I'm making is about selling um, not selling benefits, but selling outcomes. All right. And if we think in terms of what are the outcomes we're giving our customers, it changes the way that you structure offers. Because let's just go back to the knee pain example. Maybe you have some sort of gadget, whatever, that's on, or maybe it's like some sort of gel, or I actually great example is I just bought a thing. I forget what it's called, but it's like a electromagnetic stimulation thing for my back because I have back problems, and so I bought that. And their subscription is the pads that you have to put because it's like carries the electricity through it. You need pads. They last I think like 2 weeks each or something like that. So they were getting me on subscription for the pads. All right, it's a great it's a great example of doing this and getting the subscription, but then also ascending customers and doing this the right way because they sell the unit up front with pads, and then the back end is the subscription for the pads. All right, that's a great example of how to do it. So you're thinking through, but where I was going with this is, and they actually this company, which is actually a pretty big company, didn't do this, and I actually wish that they did. Right, but like so, I have back pain. All right, I bought that product for my back pain. Anytime that you have a product, it's to solve a problem. All right, and so whenever you have that, it's important to solve that problem in different ways. All right, and I actually talked about this in the last video I just recorded. But you have to come at it from different angles. So what I would have rather have seen from them is I buy the unit up front. That's that way to do it. All right. And then if they cross sold me other things that target the pain in a different way, so for example, I use stuff like this for my back pain, all right, and like neck and stuff like that. So if they were like, hey, we have this whatever cream or gel or roll on or whatever it is that you put this on, it loosens the muscle, and then you use the electricity, it's able to create better results because it can get into the muscle that's already relaxed. We found that if you use this for 20 minutes, the first 10 minutes is just relaxing your muscle. But if you use this up front, it removes that 10 minutes. So you get double the benefit, whatever. Yeah, I literally just made that up off the top of my head. But that would be a very, very easy upsell, right? You're getting them better, faster, easy results. And so if you have that subscription, don't just be thinking about that subscription. That subscription is just a part of your product suite. It's just a part of the ecosystem that you're using to help them become a better person or help them get free of pain, right? You're not just, don't think linearly. Think about them holistically as a person. When they relieve their back pain, well, what does that free them up to do? Well, what they can go and do more stuff. So maybe you do some like I don't know, some alliances with people in the like active lifestyle space, right? And you can sell them. It's like, hey, look, you can finally walk again. Now you can go out and golf. Right. So we're going to like, hey, if you want to golf, here's our favorite person, or, you can go gardening now, or, whatever it is. It's like, or even if you want to sell more of your own in-house products, maybe it's like, oh, well, you're obviously someone who wants to take better care of their health, not just your back pain. Maybe you need to lose weight. Maybe you want to increase your circulation by selling you a sauna. Like whatever it is, It's what is the outcome that this person wants? And when they get that outcome, how does their life change? And where can you add a product that's going to be there when they get the outcome? Because those people are going to be your best customers. So if you give them that outcome and then you say, hey, now that you got outcome A, now it's time to level up and go to phase two or what, whatever it is. Always be thinking about that. And it's not just how do we sell them this product? It's what outcome does this product lead to that we can then cross sell them, upsell them, ascend them into a high ticket program, whatever it is for your business. All right. And then the final thing with this is just simply always do the math. All right. So I talked about this. This is obviously just examples. I'm doing random numbers off the top of my head. The power comes when you can look at all of this and do it for your business, and you understand the economics, you understand your contribution margin, you understand if people buy product A, how many of them are going to ascend to other products to reorder that product. When you understand all this, you can make better decisions. All right. And that's what I help my clients with. If you want any help with any of that, reach out. I have all sorts of different ways to help you, from consulting to done for you to full on, in-person days where we go and we map all this stuff out. We build out your whole profit model, whatever you need to do all this and scale faster with more profit, less stress, better cash flow. If you've been listening to my content, you can tell that's what I specialize in, right? And I think it's going to be so important as AI commoditizes everything and changes the landscape of business. All of this stuff is where everything's headed, right? So if you want any help with that, reach out. Otherwise, I hope this gave you an aha, an insight, clarity, whatever it is for you. If it did, I would really love if you leave a comment, let me know, give it a share, a like, whatever you want to do to help out, share it to another friend, whatever it is, or reach out, whatever the case is for you. I hope this helps, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.